Complain about the Yankees night is officially underway. It's not just going to be the three of us tonight, but wow. Okay, so we obviously know how the Yankee season ended. I had a
I got all
about
the
it.
comments and material I need.
Yes, but shout out to Jetsman's Mess, Evan in the chat. We're gonna have a loaded panel tonight. Cultivating. We got a couple of different guests we're gonna introduce, of course. But the Yankees season is over. They're not going to the World Series. It's Astros, Phillies. I will not be watching the World Series. I would like to focus on my New York Giants, my New York Knicks, and my New York Rangers. But enough about me. Donald, my man, the season's over. How do you feel about it?
Well, listen, it's not a surprise when we first kind of started the year, I didn't really have highest expectations. I thought either a wild card defeat or a DS defeat. I thought probably a DS defeat. So I certainly didn't expect us to get make it to a World Series. We just didn't have the team for it. We never did. Anybody who actually that told us that we had a chance to win a World Series were lying to themselves. We just didn't. It was gaslighting. Now, that's not to say that this is acceptable, not by a long shot. I'll just repeat what I said to you guys in the chat and what I've tweeted. This is the worst managed postseason I've seen in 30 years. Almost 30 years of watching baseball. It was the worst managed, most disorganized, embarrassing postseason that I've watched in 30 years. I mean, now we've maybe had more embarrassing defeats in that span, but I'll tell you what, nothing worse managed. This was the worst managed. Like, this manager had no idea what he was doing, and I will take anybody to task that tells me otherwise. He did not know what he was doing. He was throwing shit at the wall, hoping something would stick. But funnily enough, a couple of things did stick, but he ignored it anyway and changed it all in the game the day after. That's what he did, man. We had 3 different 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters, 3 different shortstops, 3 different left field. And this was unbelievable. I've never seen a worse, more disorganized postseason in my life. It really speaks to the negligence, the incompetence that's happening right now in the front office. Is very disturbing, and I'll have to be honest, rest in peace to the Yankees, man, because this Yankees that we knew and loved, they're done. This is not, well, we're not going to get anything different next year. Hey, maybe get another DS win. Good luck with that. Okay, fine, but you're not going to see a title. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. Not until Brian Cashman's out, not until Aaron Boone's out, and not until Hal Steinbrenner actually begins to care about the business. This is wrong. What's happening right now is wrong.
What up, fellas? Could this be Joe Judge 2.0 situation, outside GM, outside manager? Well, I will give you a little thing, Jacob. Joe Judge talked tough. Aaron Boone talks like a fucking pussy.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Judge also talked tough and couldn't back it up.
Right.
I'm just being real. I'm not defending
anyone.
anyone.
I know. At least he talked tough. Derek Jeter just told Brian Hoke he really likes Boone.
I think that's more of like publicity, Jacob, to be honest. Like, obviously, I'll show it during the whole, when we go into the Yankees, like when Jeter was talking about Judge, like it was interesting what he said. He talking about how, the question was, should Aaron Judge stay? And you guys will obviously see the response he made. But my thoughts about the Yankees, what a disgrace being swept. I know Donald didn't mention it, but it's worth mentioning. What a Derek Jeter came off pissed about this. Mariano Rivera came off pissed about this. The 2004 fucking inspiration thing was an absolute fucking disgrace.
Oh, yeah. I want to get into that.
I was 1 year old when that happened. First of all, I didn't know baseball. Donald was alive during it. He was watching as a Yankee fan. How could you possibly, if you're Aaron Boone or one of the baseball players, if you had no background to Yankee history and all of that, how could you possibly think, let's look back on our biggest collapse in 2004 when we choked a 3-0 game lead against the Red Sox?
Can I
Maybe that's inspiration.
Can I
Go
put
ahead.
something in before you continue? And this is just a little tidbit, but it just shows how much of a fucking moron Aaron Boone is. He wasn't a part of that season. Why? He tore his ACL playing pickup fucking basketball. But go ahead.
That's 100% true. Yeah. So, yeah, no, he was not LI Yankee King. He was not on the team in 2004. Yeah,
That was you know what? You know
they
what?
traded.
Let me-
No, hold on. They traded for A-Rod. That's why Boone got.
Yes, and to include something in that, that was the only time Brian Cashman put his fucking foot down with Aaron Boone. Nobody thinks about that.
But anyways, besides the point, going to my more thoughts, Hal Steinbrenner does not care about the business. And for the first time, I'm gonna say this. I think Hal should sell the Yankees. I'm gonna be honest. I can't stand here and watch my team being neglected anymore. It's not because of Cashman or Boone or whatever. What he doesn't watch, I don't feel he watches. If I asked him to name 5 or 10 players on the Yankees, he'd be like, no, I can only name a certain amount. He'll be like, okay, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, whoever I'm paying the most fucking money, if I'm being completely honest. So if Hal doesn't care about the business, and I don't think he does, he just wants his money, sell the team. Sell the team to somebody who's actually going to pay attention.
Give it to your sister.
Yeah, exactly. So just give me 1 second. Those are my thoughts.
Trade for A-Rod. Yep, Boone tore his ACL in a pickup basketball game, something I do weekly. But you know what? I guess I don't have strong enough ligaments or pussy enough ligaments to go ahead and tear my ACL playing to pick up basketball. But while we do have that, I'm going to bring in Mr. Brian Mansell. Brian, what's going on, man? Talk to us.
You tell me, what do you want me to talk about here? Listen, I'm sitting here in the room with future general manager Donald Stewart here.
My man.
And the new skipper probably on the way, going to be me at this rate. I don't know what to say about the Yankees. It's disappointing to see this continue to happen, and I cannot speak on it too much, but let's just say I'm not against what you're saying, Luca. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I can't speak any further though.
Yeah, of course. So Jacob says, how about the thought of A-Rod? I said this on Twitter. Maybe people won't agree with me, but I think it's Donald, the first Scottish GM ever.
Baseball.
Maybe.
I'm American, man. I live in Scotland. Remember that.
Yeah, he's half Scottish, okay? But anyway, no, I put on Twitter, I said, this is the honest truth. If people don't like it, I don't give a shit. A-Rod should be a part of this organization. Now, I did, there were a couple of comments like, okay, and then there was someone like, who's a Giants fan. I agree with them a lot, but he also says, like, he generally fucking hates A-Rod. That presence is needed, and I don't understand where the hate for him comes from, in the sense that, oh, well, he's very contradictory because he was all or nothing when he was a player. Like,
no, he wasn't. He wasn't an all or nothing player. The guy could do. He was a 5-tool player. He could hit. He could field. He could run the bases. He was a 5-tool player. Nobody knows that because all they do is look at the stats. Well, they don't look at the stats. They just assume because they never got to watch him.
Right. Almighty, what's good? Aaron Judge is going nowhere.
I'm
going to disagree, but that's only because of stuff I've heard. I can't speak anything on it, but let's just say him staying in New York right now is a 50-50.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a 50-50 game.
I've heard.
From what I understand, San Francisco will not be outbid for him.
Yes.
Yeah, they have all the money in the world to spend here. They're definitely the top dog. Don't forget, the Dodgers are apparently getting involved now, from what I've heard as well. So this is going to get very, very stressful if you're a Yankees fan. This is going to get very stressful.
The funny thing is, I'm not all that stressed because the reality is this is all Brian Cashman's fault. This is all Brian Cashman's fault. He could have bought his arbitration out years ago. He could have found a reasonable contract a couple of years back. When he first hit the 50 home runs, that's when Brian Cashman should have gotten in touch with his agent going, right, what's it going to take to get you tied down long term? But the Yankees have this way where they only negotiate contracts when their arbitration's up, and when the season's over, they don't do negotiations mid-season, and it's costing them. And in this instance, the offer that that they put on the table in the previous offseason, I actually agree with Aaron Judge. I wouldn't have signed it. If I was Aaron Judge, I wouldn't have signed it. I thought it was a half-assed contract. I know that the Yankees will spin it saying, well, it was the most we've ever offered. But in reality, it wasn't close to the AAV of a lot of the top players in baseball. And that's what it was. It was a shocking contract. And Cashman got what he deserved. But then remember, the Yankees narrative, the whole of the offseason was, oh, well, we don't have the money to go after a shortstop because we need to re-sign Aaron Judge. But then when they failed to re-sign Aaron Judge, it was quick. Let's spin it, right? And then they made it public. They made it public to embarrass Aaron Judge, to get Aaron Judge booed by the fans on opening day. That was all Brian Cashman, that little bald weasel. And it's all his fault. So everything that happens in this coming offseason, where Aaron Judge is probably going to have offers of up to $40 million AAV, good. He deserves it. And Brian Cashman deserves it. He has to sit and he has to deal with that uncomfortableness. He has to deal with how uncomfortable that will be, not knowing. Good. He deserves it. He is a disgrace.
Thank you, Donald.
Also for an idea of contract, like you're saying, Donald, you're talking if you want to get him above Scherzer's record-breaking AAV of $43 million a year, you would have to offer something that's long-term and expensive, which is
I would put it in the Trout.
6-year, $270 million.
I would put it in the Trout. I think Trout is 37 AAV. I think it needs to be around about that.
We're talking highest paid in baseball batters and pitchers that he wanted. And he bet on himself. And don't forget, this man's going to pull him an MVP award and turn around and say, hey, I won the MVP. I deserve more. And to be fair, he does deserve more. But that means you have to make very difficult decisions as the Yankees. You have to cut a lot of people, offboard a lot of contracts, which I'm sure as fans, we all know which contracts have to go, especially since Donaldson's earning tens of millions of dollars for next season.
The rest of the panel, what did you guys think when Aaron Judge rejected that first offer? Did you guys think it was a fair offer, or did you think it was kind of not really up to his level? We'll start with Alex.
Well, first of all, I got a second question for Brian, not even relating to kind of subject, but when he rejected an offer, and someone who's probably going to come on the panel very shortly and is familiar with some of the people in the audience, I'm just going to say that. So I didn't like the offer. What was it? 213 over like.
I thought it was like $32 million a year.
Okay, so
the average would have him below whatever Stanton's making right now.
Yep,
that's fucking bullshit. Okay,
and Stanton's making about $32 million. He was going to make about 30 and a half.
Yeah, so right off the bat, that's fucking bullshit. Okay, that is bullshit. With that being said, I was there at opening day. I was there at opening day. Luca was there at opening day, whatever. And, I know I'm putting a lot of bubble and context around this. I didn't think he got the fair offer. I literally screamed out when Aaron Judge was getting introduced on opening day against the Boston Red Sox. I said, pay the man. That's what I said. But somebody behind me said, oh, they're giving him more than enough to live within that contract. I'm like, are you fucking stupid or not? Something like, you nuts? But no, I don't think I just think this whole process by the New York Yankees is totally fucked up and flawed. And for some reason, Hal Steinbrenner hasn't learned. And I'm not talking about Cashman. I'm talking about him in a sense. But let's just see. By the way, I do want to introduce somebody again on the panel. This is Rob from Nerding Out Sports. Rob, what's going on, man? I'll let you speak in just a second, but I do want to finish my point real quick. And what is that point you're asking? I just don't like the whole negotiation tactics. Put aside Aaron Judge. How many Yankees has fucking Brian Cashman done this to? Posada, Rivera, I guess
Jeter.
Jeter.
Everyone in the goddamn four core hates him. Why do they hate him? Because he's such a fucking scumbag.
He wants to win every battle.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes you have to. It's called compromising. That's what Aaron Judge did with arbitration. But is that a Giants jersey, Rob?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I can't wear a Yankee gear right now.
I listen. Donald.
Too soon.
Well, I
a little
mean,
too fresh.
I want to ask Brian a question before we get to Rob, but I must say, Imagine not being happy about your football team right now.
Oh, give me a break, man. Oh my God.
Well, wasn't it?
Listen,
He's a
it's
Patriots.
not Brady's fault. It's not
He's a
Brady's
Bucks
fault.
fan.
He's a Bucks
Not
fan.
his fault.
Okay.
God, poor Brian's squirming. We'll get into your football stuff in a future Boys in the Big
in a
Apple
future
episode. We'll
episode.
stick to the Yankees.
Of course. But Brian, I don't know. This is why I'm asking before we get to Rob. Are you allowed to state your occupation or no? There's a reason, because if you can, I would like to give some context as why you're limited on statements. If not, then no worries. I'll go to Rob.
All I will say is that I work within the sports realm, and for a certain organization, that if I am to talk any further on baseball that could be defamating, I could face some penalties or punishment.
Okay.
So I do not want to go too far into it or make anything that may be defamatory towards anything.
Of
Just
course.
For job security reasons.
More than fair.
Shouts to Tudo. Rob, my man, go right ahead.
Where do we start, right? Where do we start? We're using the organization's biggest failure, biggest embarrassment as a motivational piece for a team that's outplayed, outcoached, outmatched. We have an owner who's comfortable with his GM and manager who haven't done a godforsaken thing since he took over. And I'm going to say something that I think that a lot of people probably won't agree with. I think Cashman's the biggest problem, and I would rather them clean out the front office and let Aaron Boone just manage, because we know he's not going anywhere. If they let Aaron Boone manage the way he was the first half of the season, he was two completely different managers. And Donald, he's one of Boone's biggest critics. He was giving the guy praise during our hot streak. He was managing different. He was making gut decisions. He wasn't leaving guys in too long. He was taking them out when they had to. He was making good pitching moves. The lineup was the same almost every single day. Guys were producing. And then once they started losing, it's like Cashman took over, and we saw the Boone from last year and the year before, and that trickled into the playoffs. Why they stopped letting him manage and went back to the old ways is beyond me, because we could have been a 100-plus win team, maybe had the top seed. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure what the heck they did there. And I just think Cashman and that whole front office needs to be cleaned out. And if they get more fresh blood that's going to actually embrace modern analytics and not try to mix in the old way and mix it in with the new way because they're not doing it right, then maybe we can have a decent staff. Because I do think Boone can be. I'm not saying he will be. I think he can be a good manager. Right now he's bad because everybody that's in his ear telling him what to do. It's a shit show at the top, and it's not going to change as long as Cashman and his cronies are still around.
All right, so real quickly, MH and Evan, you're familiar with this man. Blue City too as well, and he's smiling in the background. For the first time in almost a few months, we're going to have Sean on.
Say almost. It's been like fucking a year.
Sean,
Welcome.
give us your thoughts
Welcome back.
on everything.
Thank you. Where do I even begin? I had a whole hour rant on my show yesterday. So, where do I even begin? Well, I'll start with the simple way to put it. Why is Boone coming back? Why is Cashman coming back? Let me get this straight. I don't remember who it was who brought up this point. How is it that Girardi could have taken the Yankees to a Game 7 and he couldn't come back? Obviously, his contract was up. But Boone can't even get to a Game 7, or he can't even compete in the postseason, and he still has a job. Just my point.
Puppet.
Yeah, exactly. Puppet. I think this may have to be the most embarrassing postseason I've ever had to live through in terms of the ALCS, because of the fact that they didn't even put up a fight against Houston. It should have. First of all, the Cleveland series should have never went 5 games. I think that plays a part in what happened. That should have never went 5 games. They clearly weren't prepared for Houston. crappy bullpen management. That's I don't even know where to begin with that. The bullpen management, the entire postseason was horrible. In the 4 years Boone has been a Yankee manager, he still doesn't know how to manage a bullpen, and it was blatantly obvious. Listen, I'm trying to remember. You know, I mean, you look at Cashman. I also question why he's coming back. Perfect example being the Donaldson trade. We all saw how well Donaldson panned out this postseason. Obviously, he was amazing, as you could see. He had some of the ugliest at-bats I've
Donald's
ever
favorite
watched.
player. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh, my God. The Donaldson trade, I think, was the final straw for me with Cashman. You know, I've been on – go ahead.
That was for me too, man. You carry on.
Yeah, the Donaldson trade was the final straw. Trying to think. I think the most embarrassing thing to take from this entire series, maybe one of the most, I won't say the most embarrassing thing, but one of the most embarrassing things about this ALCS is the fact that we really tried to use the Boston Red Sox as motivation to, you know, the Yankees. One of the darkest days in Yankee history was losing to the Red Sox in 2004. And you're telling me that's good motivation to not only use that as an example, but to show the video and openly admit that to the media. That's what gets me, is you willingly admitted to the media, oh yeah, we use the Boston Red Sox as an example, as motivation. And Aaron Boone even personally reached out to David Ortiz for advice.
FaceTimed David Ortiz.
FaceTime David Ortiz. The man who I won't say single-handedly, but he led the Red Sox to that comeback. That's what gets me, is the fact that we actually had people reaching out to the Red Sox for help. Like, where do you draw the line? Where do we draw the line on Boone? That's between the bullpen management. I don't like to use this. I don't like to, but if George Steinbrenner were alive, he would have been gone. He would have been gone a year ago, but even if he did keep him this year, that would have been the final straw.
Exactly. That Boston Red Sox thing was the most disgraceful thing I've ever heard. Now, because I had to live through that 2004 thing. I have lived through a single inning of that 2004. Look up.
Can we also mention that that Aaron Boone, Luis Severino, and Kyle Higashioka made excuses to justify losing, and that's under the blind Cashman culture. They said, "Oh, the roof was open on Aaron Judge's almost home run,"
and that is the one thing that I forgot to mention in my show yesterday.
Rob, what was the stat for the first 2 games that the Yankees struck out? How many times?
41. 30. Oh, it was 41 after 3.
41 after 3.
30 strikeouts in 2 games.
Yeah, but let's blame the roof. Yeah. Now, I want to ask you, everybody, this, because this topic of conversation is bothering me so badly. People are complaining, and me and Luca kind of talked about it earlier, this whole thing about the Yankees and the way that they were, quote-unquote, treated, during the ALCS. I just want to ask it because I am only going to be on here till about 9:30. But
I think that's a perfect thing to start with, I'll be honest, when we get the whole thing.
I mean, Alex and Luca could tell you, because we've gone on this rant before about whether it's true or not. You come to New York for a reason. We have standards here. This is not small market hillbilly country who's happy just to see them exist. Buck Showalter said it best. You don't go to Yankee Stadium to watch the Yankees play. You go to watch the Yankees win. And if the Yankees don't win, you're going to hear it, and rightfully so. I don't care how many home runs Judge hit this year. If he doesn't perform in the postseason, he's going to get it, and it's rightfully deserved. Stanton's been dealing with it ever since he came here. Do you hear him boo-hooing about it? No. So I'm so sick of, Jake Arrieta said, I don't know if you saw what he had to say. He's like, if I'm Aaron Judge, I would get the fuck out of there as quickly as possible. You kidding me?
This is the same guy who
This is why he
spent time
failed in Philly. This is why he failed in Philly. And if any of you follow me on social media, see the way I've been ripping Philadelphia this week, partially because my football team is playing them. But that's the one thing I will always, I'll kind of back up Philly on is when they boo their players, it's justified because they at least have standards. Now, when they start throwing batteries at their players, that's a different story. That's just Philly being psychotic. But that's a discussion for another day. I'm sure Alex can give you plenty of stories on Philadelphia fans. But just back to the point, I'm so sick of this argument of we're bad people. We're one of the worst fan bases because we boo our players. Again, we have standards, and if you don't meet those standards,
how he feels about Yankee fans.
Yeah, exactly.
He says it all the time. How much he loves Yankee fans, and he loves the fact that he was held to account.
Yeah, he was booed, and he accepted it. That's just a part of playing in New York. You don't like it, don't come here. I mean, we look back at I think it was last year when Javier Baez did his thing and Lindor did the thing.
That's right.
That's what I'm referring to when I was talking about when we talked about it on here before. Again, don't come to New York then. Don't come to New York then. So that's pretty much everything I got. But yeah,
I think it's a mentality. I think it's a soft mentality cultivated by Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner, Aaron Boone. It's this soft mentality, and it seeps through into the locker room where players are protected.
Yeah.
Josh Donaldson, Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks sat for a couple of days and he's already complaining. No mention of his bad performance. It was all, well, I could offer something to a team if they just bothered to play me. Blah, 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 blah. Wine.
Only notable thing he did this year was the Houston game.
There was so much of that locker room was soft mentally. And that's what it is. And it was cultivated because it looks like Brian Cashman wanted to bring these people in.
Yeah.
Right. Real quickly, Sean, is that you like echoing? Well, I hear an echo.
No, there's an echo. Yeah.
There is. I'm sorry. This is like the only mic I have. So.
All right.
But I don't think it's Sean. I just hear it in general.
I hear it a little bit. I don't know if it's me or not, though.
What's funny?
I'll mute myself when I'm not talking.
I mean, I hear it. I don't hear it when Sean talks, but then when everybody else is talking, I'm hearing it.
Yeah,
so that's telling me I think it might be Sean's mic.
Yeah, but of course,
I'll just stay muted. Yeah.
And then
for the time being,
we'll add something. Then all right. Anyway, thanks for all the comments in the chat. By the way, I know I haven't been keeping up, but this I don't know if y'all saw this, and we'll get to it eventually because there's like a couple of different points I want to bring up, and I know Luca was heated about this. Did y'all see what Michael Kay said about the Knicks and comparing them to the Yankees and the fans and all that stuff?
I
did not. The only thing that you actually brought you remind me of something, because one of the things that I did bring up on my show yesterday was the fact that I want to just get your guys' opinions on the Yankee fans who are starting to chant "sell the team," because I said it feels like now the failure with the Yankees over the last several years reaching to this point, it's giving like a Knicks vibe, and I don't like it. I've always been like heavily against the idea. I've always been like, I can't imagine another family owning the Yankees, but at the same time, is there a justified, like, I just want to get your thoughts on the sell the team chance.
I think it's gotten to a point because, like, I'm sure Donald, Rob, Giants fan. I literally made a video today comparing the New York Giants and the New York Yankees. For the past 10 years, and I don't really want to turn this to football, but it's just a comparison standpoint. For the past 10 years, the Giants have been booed out of their stadium. Players, don't want to come here because of the culture, whatever. John Mara sticking to people inside the building. We've heard this one before. I'm sure LI, Blue City, all these different guys in the chat, they're Giant fans, have heard the same story and probably watched my video. So you got that. And then, John Mara finally wakes up, but it just seems like Hal Steinbrenner is not at that point because he literally said today he thinks Aaron Boone's a good manager. So he's completely tone deaf to the situation. I will tell you this. Donald's going to hate me for it. I'm going to put it in anyway. Dave Gettleman has had more recent success in the postseason than Brian Cashman has. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, won. Brian Cashman in the last 12 years, nothing. So, Donald, if you want to echo anything, you want to make any points.
We should actually be relieved that John Mara is actually in charge of the Giants. It's funny I'm saying that, but in comparison to Hal Steinbrenner, he's wonderful. Because what John Mara does is he reads every single email that comes through from Giant fans. Every single letter he reads. Whether he agrees with them or not, he reads. And he replies. That is someone who cares, right? It pained him. It hurt him deeply every time the Giants didn't succeed. He hated it. Why? Because he wants to make his dad proud. He's inherited something that means a lot to him. He's a Giants fan, and he wants to do his father proud and his father's business, his father's organization proud. That is how John Mara runs the Giants. Now, he has made a lot of mistakes, right? But he finally came around to it because enough fans were loud enough for him to come around and go, okay, this isn't working. My loyalty has been misplaced. And he finally came around to it. But it wasn't over a lack of interest. It was just over misplaced loyalties. Now, let's look at Hal Steinbrenner. I think he's got major daddy issues. He does not want to be anything like his dad. He does not want to be anything like his dad. First of all, he's not really a baseball fan. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was born on third base, and he's inherited a business, and he kind of cares about the Yankees, but only kind of like, you know what? My dad loved them, so I guess I kind of have to. But I don't think that he has this burning desire. Well, he definitely doesn't have a burning desire to win. That's a fact. He doesn't have a burning desire to care about baseball. That's also a fact. At the end of the day, I think he's very much business-minded, and he just wants to sit back, and he wants to completely trust the baseball operations department. He does not have the stomach to tear it all up, go through the process of hiring and interviewing all these different people in the front office, and then go through a full rebuild. He doesn't have the stomach for it. It's so much safer, it's so much easier for him to be, as he's been described in the Yankee book I'm reading about the 2009 championship, where he says he likes to look at the Yankees from 30,000 feet. That's how he likes to do it. He just wants to leave it to the baseball operations. He knows Brian Cashman. He's known him since the 80s. It's a hell of a lot easier for him just to let him go and do his thing. And that's it. He doesn't have the stomach for it. He doesn't care like we care. He isn't a fan like Yankee fans are. All he'll do is he'll give you occasional lip service, and at the end of the day, he'll do the bare minimum in terms of investing in the Yankees. Now, does that say that he's cheap? I wouldn't say he's cheap. He's given Brian Cashman $1 billion since 2009 to give them a championship. So the fact that the Yankees haven't even reached a World Series in that time is all on Brian Cashman. But Hal Steinbrenner has now come to the point where he has to start listening to his fans, but he doesn't care. He's not interested in his fan base. That's the truth of it. And he's got misplaced loyalties like John Mara, but the difference is between him and John Mara is John Mara loves the Giants. He loves his team. He's a football fan. Hal Steinbrenner isn't a baseball fan, and he doesn't really care about the Yankees that much.
Anything you want to add, Brian?
Oh, me?
Yes, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah. I've seen. Okay, I gotta be really careful with this. I would say there's been a lot of questions about ownership with the Yankees. Only now coming into light, when I've been stressing about it for the last few years. And, it comes down to a point of one thing I really agree with is when y'all said how Steinbrenner doesn't want to be like George. And the problem is with the Yankees that you needed somebody like George, because George really built so much success for the Yankees in the 90s going into literally 2000. And that team, although it dwindled away going towards, 2011, you were able to see some success. They kept making the playoffs consistently, maybe not getting far, but making it a few World Series until they got their last one in 2009. And then the second that George passed, there's been nothing. It has been dead silent. Whoever has been running this team, which is Hal, they've gotten very conservative with their spending. And you're seeing that. The lack of effort in making the free agent decisions is obvious now. You had opportunities to get things to help your team succeed. And this is where I'm going to give a really crazy comparison for the Yankees, because I know I shared it with, I think, most everybody here. There was a comparison made between the Phillies, who are in the World Series, and the Yankees, who were just eliminated in the ALCS. Both teams have something very similar. They've got a heavy-hitting lineup, in terms of power at least. They get a nice 1-2 combo at pitching. But what set them apart was when things were not working in the middle of the season for the Phillies, they made changes. At midpoint of the season, the Phillies got rid of Joe Girardi. That was in June.
God.
And right after they got rid of Girardi, they let Rob Thompson take over. They also got rid of Didi, and they got rid of, I think they said Odrubel. It was also, or I think I got the name right. I might have messed it up. Either way, they got rid of a couple. Yeah. They got rid of two guys that were starters, borderline, and all of a sudden they started doing better. They started winning games. They started making a comeback, and they snuck into the playoffs as the last wild card. They continued their hot streak. They powered through, made some big upsets, and made it to the World Series. From strong management by making bold, risky decisions and taking chances. We didn't see that from the Yankees at all this year. And it was a very hot start. And to keep a hot start going, you have to figure out what could slow you down. And they didn't adjust for the slowdown. And because of that failed adjustment, they fell down. They fell hard. They stumbled across the finish line for the division and to get into the playoffs. They barely got out of the ALDS. And in the ALCS, we got embarrassed. And it just is a sign of failure to adjust and failure to take chances that I'm seeing from Cashman and I'm seeing from Hal. So something has to be done on either one of those fronts.
They were completely ill-equipped for the postseason. They were not ready for the postseason at all. They managed the postseason like they had a whole season ahead of them. It was unbelievable.
I'll say it like this. I'll be, if it wasn't for that great start, I'd say they have no reason, they have no business even being in the postseason, because they started 52-18, and everybody was. I won't lie, I was fooled too. I'm like, maybe things are finally starting to change. Then they proceeded to finish the year 50-51. So I think that great start really hid so many problems that, like Brian just said, the Yankees were not adjusting, because we all knew at some point they weren't going to keep it up forever. Just nobody planned for it to be that bad, and there was no preparation for it. They're like, all right, what do we do? There was no preparation. So honestly, that 52-18 start may have hurt this team more than helped. That's just how I look at it.
Rob?
That's one way of looking at it. I'm going to give my quick thoughts, and I think I want to move to the Andy Martino subject. First of all, what Michael Kay said about Knick fans, here's what I think happened. Michael Kay was defending his buddy Andy Martino. You guys saw the article, most of you, if nobody's else seen the headline. He said the Knicks are rarely in play for a big name because of how fans treat players and how they saw Knicks fans turning on Julius Randle, which makes absolutely no sense. Remember, Rob's a basketball fan, Brian's a basketball fan, Sean's a basketball fan, Alex a basketball fan, I'm a basketball fan. The narrative used to be it was the losing and it was James Dolan. What happened to that narrative? Are you just coming up with a new narrative to save your buddy's ass? Because that's what I think is happening. He turned himself into a company boy because Andy Martino said the same stuff about the Yankees players and how they want to be treated, which Knicks fans are loving. And I'm not going to go into this whole rant about Knicks fans. That's not fair because this is a Yankee stream. But it just makes no sense because the Knicks were never a topic. A, Michael Kay was going on about the Yankees. And B, Michael Kay has no source to back that up. He's making a claim without a source.
There's a big difference between Knicks and Yankee fans' expectations. First of all, if anything, Knicks fans are delusional about the talent on their own roster. They always are. Yankees fans aren't. They're incredibly tuned in to this roster, and they're not nearly as delusional as Knicks fans are. Now, they'll get caught up in the hype, but at the end of the day, they could call a spade for the most part. But the truth is, Knicks fans, we are happy just to make the playoffs. If we make the playoffs, we're delighted. Like, we're going to celebrate in the streets as we've already seen 2 years ago. The Yankee fans are different. We expect to make the postseason, and we expect to win in the postseason. Those are two completely different things. And also, I highly doubt that people around the league were watching going, oh, poor Julius Randle. Julius Randle does not have this much respect around the league. They just think he's a good guy, an okay player. That's all he is. So this idea that, oh, wow, he was booed. Oh, this is egregious. This is terrible. No one should go to New York. Give me a break. It's nothing about that, man. It was all about the fact that the Knicks weren't winning and the fact that they were being mismanaged from the very top. They didn't really have a good general manager. They had at one point they had Isaiah Thomas, and it was a whole mess up there. And then they had a sexual assault case going on with Anucha Brown Sanders and Isaiah Thomas. This is going back to the early thousands with Stephon Marbury and things like that. That stuff is carried on, right? And the Knicks were in perennial problems with cap and with the fact that no one really respected them around the league, and that carried on. So that's what the problem was. It was nothing to do with Knicks fans. They call it the Mecca for a reason. They want to play for the Knicks fans. It was just that the Knicks organization was a complete joke. So Martino was completely wrong. Because at the end of the day, the Knicks managed to get a couple of good players now because they've got a fairly decent front office. So it's completely different.
Yeah, it's Michael Kay had no right saying that, and Knicks fans shared their displeasure, and they had a right to. So Alex, you want to share it? Yeah. I have the article right here. Will the Yankees' external toxicity problem cost them Aaron Judge and other free agents? Everybody read the headline. I don't think I have to explain it when it came to today's news.
Can I have a pre-question? Raise your hand if you think this is spin.
I do think it was spin.
Absolutely.
100%.
But Luca, if you will.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it going. Here we go. More than one Yankee has told his agent this week that playing at the stadium last weekend was an unusually brutal experience.
Rob looks like he has something to say.
About the fans?
About whatever's on your mind regarding this, yeah.
Whatever.
Yankee fans have always been dicks. I mean, I don't know what people are expecting to change. It's been like that since I was a kid going to the stadium. People used to jump on the field and tell security guards to suck it. It was just – it's been like this forever. Nothing's going to change with Yankee fans. They were not threatening people's livelihood. Or I don't know what really is being said in the crowd, but Yankee fans are assholes, and that's just New York. New York is known for people being a-holes, all right? It's like – That's the stereotype of New Yorkers. It's like everyone's mean. Well, what do you expect going to Yankee Stadium and playing? I think this was Josh Donaldson, in all honesty. If there's anybody that was probably complaining, it's like, I can't believe they did that. It was probably him because he was so bad. And he was the idiot that came out and said, I think I had some good at-bats. So he's probably the top guy that would say something like that. But what do you expect them to do when you're playing like utter garbage in the biggest series of the season that's not the World Series? You're playing like crap. You're not going to get, hey, good attempt. The only time we could ever do that was 2017 when that team battled. So this year we expected with that start to put up at least a fight. They put up 0 fight. You're going to get booed. Every single one of them.
Completely, man. I think it's Josh Donaldson, IKF, and Aaron Hicks. The three guys who are the target of Yankee fans' wrath all year long, and they've hated it. They've hated that wrath So I wouldn't be surprised if one of them, if not all of them, complained to some degree. But that's them, for God's sake. Terrible baseball players. That's why we're pissed at them.
And also, imagine if this happened in the 70s or the 90s.
Oh boy. So I got to continue. I'm an Astro bro, Reggie Jackson, a special advisor to Houston owner Jim Crane, told Mark Berman at Fox 26 last week at Minute Maid Park. The pinstripes get heavy sometimes. I don't respect Reggie Jackson. It is not, therefore, a new emotion to be exhausted by the unrealistic expectations and anger that follows that when those expectations aren't met. Even Mr. October felt the weight of it. But even before the Astros swept the Yankees in the American League Championship Series last weekend, the clubhouse and front office had quietly noticed that the external energy surrounding the team felt as angry as it has ever been in ages.
What are they going to go into witness protection?
If you're an Aaron Judge booed in the playoffs days after setting an American League home run record, why wouldn't you prefer sunny Los Angeles or familiar San Francisco?
Here we go. Here comes the spin, everybody.
And if you're a free agent talking to your friends already on the team, why would you subject yourself to the experiences they describe? What a lowlife this reporter is.
Yeah, fuck him.
You won't find any Yankee players willing to offer a, quote, criticizing fan culture, but I'll pass along these observations after embedding with the team throughout a difficult month. First, this is not a criticism of folks who feel angry and disappointed that they don't get to cheer for their team in the World Series. It's just an objective. Not wrong. It's just an objective truth that the team is taken aback by the level of negativity hitting them after a divisional title and a 99-win season. Those feelings could have real consequences for the roster. More than one Yankee player has told his agent this week that playing at the stadium last weekend was unusually brutal. It was hard for many teammates to believe that Yankee fans booed Judge. Even a difficult person, an underperformer like Donaldson, was turned into a somewhat sympathetic figure internally by the force of the jeering.
See, I knew it. It was him.
You're right.
You're right. You shouldn't have fucking said his name in the article, you idiot.
It had to have been him. Mr. Tough as Nails, whatever. He's always fighting people, and here he is putting his tail between his legs. Oh, my pussy.
Yeah.
Fuck yourself.
You nailed it, Rob.
In the days that followed, many in the organization were surprised by the tone of fan and media reaction. Rivals were shocked, too. One longtime executive texted to say he was struck by the irrational opinions.
Irrational opinions? What?
On Cashman and Boone. I get that's the World Series or bust, but damn, they're spoiled.
Fuck off.
The gap between industry and fan perceptions of Boone and Cashman is particularly striking. Rivals consider Cashman one of the greatest executives in sports.
Fuck off. Fuck off.
Luca, stop. Kick Luca out. I'm not listening to this anymore. I've had enough. I'm losing brain cells as he speaks. Every word that comes out of his mouth makes me want to destroy my laptop.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Other GMs and agents are baffled by fan hate towards those two. Cashman and Boone can take it, though. But Donald said in an earlier podcast that Cashman does not take criticism and he spins out of it, which Donald is right on. They're not going anywhere unless Hal tells them to. And while that's not expected, we're still awaiting word. There are no guarantees either way, except for Boone, because Hal Steinbrenner affirmed that Boone was coming back. It's players' reaction to the toxicity that poses a tangible problem, and the Yankees know it. That's one reason why the front office supports Boone's relentless positivity when discussing players in public. Between fans in the stadium, social media, and traditional media, the team figures that players have enough criticism in their day. It's the modern manager's job to provide an environment that serves as an escape from all that. Cashman and his
Luca, real quickly, I do want to give an outlet to Sean because I know he's got a Twitch stream to do in the next few minutes. Sean, if you want to give your final thoughts and anything else you want to say.
Well, I want to thank Luca for killing the 3 brain cells I have left. Now I'm down to just half. half a brain cell. God. Well, the pain and suffering continues. That's the best way I could put it. I don't know. I just don't know with this team anymore. I mean, I said at the start of the year how I didn't want to set too high of an expectation because of how the way last year went, but with, Alex and Luca know my story. I know Donald knows about it too, but with things happening in life right now for me, it feels more personal now because of the fact that we're at a point now generation-wise. I've never been able to experience a Yankee World Series. I've never been able to. 2009, I was in first grade. I was in first grade with Luca, and we're sitting there talking about Mario Kart or some shit. We didn't give a flying fuck about baseball yet. So we're at a point now where I've never been able to experience a World Series. And I put this on my story. I've never been able to experience one with my dad. And with life happening right now, I said this, if I never get to experience one with him because of this fucking bullshit, I'll never stop rooting for the Yankees, but I'll never be able to love them the same. Because of the fact that the pure insanity that is this front office, the pure insanity of trying the same damn thing over and over again, it's unbelievably frustrating. The fact that it's been this long and shit still hasn't changed. And I don't remember which one of you guys said it, but you basically spoke my mind by saying, how's trying to do everything in his power to not be George? And it's killing this team. Yeah, thank you. So it's just a frustrating time to be a Yankee fan. And yeah, I'm at a point now where if something doesn't change soon, again, I'm never going to stop rooting for the Yankees. I'm a diehard fan for life, but I'll never be able to love them the way I do, I have for the last 10, 12 years or so. So that's pretty much it. Thank you,
raise a
Alex.
great point, man, because I think we all have individual stories about how we fell in love with the Yankees and how they were brought up with the Yankees. And obviously you have a connection with your father.
Yeah.
And the Yankees. I have a connection with my grandfather and the Yankees. My grandfather took me to all the games at the old stadium. So that's how I fell in love with the team as much as I have. And since he passed away, I carried on that torch. I wanted to do him proud and be a great Yankee fan for him and go to all the games, etc., and talk about the team in whatever format I can. But I'll tell you what, it's becoming more and more difficult to do so with the way that it's being managed. It's very hard.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
I have an emotional
just
in that team.
Like I said, the fact that it's been as long as it has just makes it that much more frustrating. So
my emotional attachment to the team is slowly.
At this point, all we can do is hope and pray that something changes. That's all. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's come down to. Like I said, now it's starting to hit a personal note. It's starting to really hit personally, and that's what's making this so much more frustrating. So I want to thank, though, Alex and Luca for letting me on for a little bit. I know it's been a while. I'm hoping to come back soon. So, things are starting to work out a little bit better. I may be able to start freeing up more time that I can try to make some more time to be on here. Yeah, so, I mean, if you want to hear more of my takes on this stuff, you can tune in if you're in the New York area, 88.9 FM or WSIA.FM. I have a sports show from 3:30 to 5. Went on a whole spiel about this thing yesterday, so I tried to summarize it as best as I could. But yeah, hopefully soon I'll be back on here regularly, like I was back in February, I think it was when I stopped. We'll see. But yeah, thank you both. Thank you all for having me on and letting me speak for a little bit, and have a good rest of the show.
All right, Sean.
Thanks,
talk to you.
Man. All right. So do I continue? It's only a little bit left. So it's Cashman and the staff believe that Boone is the right person for the task. We'll see if they retain the power to decide that. The Yankees created this problem long ago. George Steinbrenner's often repeated theme, later adopted by Jeter and others, that a season is a failure.
So hold on. I know where this is going. He says that they created the issue that the Yankees fans have expected championship or bust. That's the issue here.
That's what he's saying. That a season of failure, if it does not end a championship, has come to define the Yankee brand. Now the clubhouse itself feels crushed under the weight of the brand. More than ever, I've seen players that don't want to be Yankees. The team needs to find a way to change the message and the tone, though after all these years, doing so might be near impossible. What a fucking lowlife. I'm sorry. That's worse than the Heyman article.
Can I start? I got to start this. Let me make this very clear. Eddie Martino is not a Yankees reporter. That's what's so much about this. He is a Mets reporter talking about the Yankees. Let's start with that. So there's obviously some bias on that side. I'm going to jump right out the gate with there because Martino's one of those guys that's about grabbing an article, grabbing a title, basically grabbing the headline to build spin like you guys have been saying. This is absolute spin to try to create a bad narrative that Yankee fans are the problem, not the organization. But it's been very clear that since 2010, when we last won the World Series in 2009, the expectation has been get to the World Series, get to the World Series, get to the World Series. That has been the expectation because we've had the talent, we've had the pitching, we've had the bats. We've had the ability to do so many times since then. And what happens? We keep falling short. How about this? If Martino's so smart, how is it possible to not have that expectation when the Yankees have made 5 consecutive in the 5 consecutive ALCS appearances they've had, they have not made it past that once to get into the World Series. Since then, 5 in a row, we've made it and we haven't been able to get by them. And whether it be Houston or somebody else, we just can't get past it. It didn't matter if Girardi was the manager. It didn't matter if it was Boone as the manager. The Yankees simply couldn't get past it. But we sum it up as the Yankee fans have too high of expectations. When the talent is there to meet that expectation, we're going to have that expectation. So let's not spin this off as, oh, this is George's fault for creating this narrative. It's the 90s Yankees' faults for playing with that mentality, continuing to push that for the Yankee fan base. Let's not put the blame on that. Let's put the blame on the organization for not actually meeting the expectation we have, despite the fact they keep saying we go into every season with the expectation to win.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you, right? That's the thing that's bothering me the most about this. Everything you just said, Brian, is spot on, but Andy Martino says that players don't want to come here. Why did Manny Machado want to be a Yankee? Why did Bryce Harper want to be a Yankee? These guys want to be Yankees. They want to come here and win. I'm sure they're not going to go cry because they're getting booed if they struggle. I'm so sick of this narrative that we're the worst team to play for. When if you look around the league, Boston boos their players. And no one talks about Boston fans that way. They talk about Yankee fans. The Phillies do it. It's all over baseball. It's all over sports. But because it's New York and because it's the Yankees, people want to talk about it and try to spin this narrative. So Martino's always sucked. He's always been a terrible reporter. And this just makes me hate him.
He's been a cock gobbler.
Yeah, that's a perfect, cock gobbler, whatever you want to call him. It just fits. But the Yankees, I want to say something about George because every time the Yankees lose, it gets brought up if George were alive. People really need to remember that George was at the helm of a lot of really bad moves. Like once the dynasty team started to dissemble a little bit, Neil retired and they lost certain guys that were key cogs in that. He made a lot of bad moves. Like he wanted all the pitchers. He pushed for Keigawa, right? He wanted Weaver. He wanted Contreras, Esteban Loaiza. All these moves that didn't help. So Hal doesn't need to be George. He doesn't. But he needs to maybe have a little bit more input with Cashman and say, hey, if I'm going to give you all this money, spend it on players that are going to help us. Because if he's letting Cashman make all these decisions, I can't put this all on Hal because Hal is giving Cashman like this giant piggy bank to spend on the roster. But look at the way he uses the fucking money. Aroldis Chapman, Zach Britton, Josh Donaldson. Aaron Hicks, they all make more or just under the total amount of luxury tax that Machado and Harper make combined. That is terrible allocation of money. So it can't be on Hal. He's giving Cashman these funds. it can't all be on Hal. Cashman is spending it so poorly, and it's something that George Steinbrenner did as well. So I can see why Hal would say, like, pull back a little bit on spending if you can build from within. But also, guess what Cashman doesn't do? Use those players that are in the system. He gets all of them, right? He gets all of them. He did it in 2016. He got Frazier, he got Torres, he got Justice Sheffield, and he refused to trade Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar and Chance Adams for Garrett Cole after getting Giancarlo Stanton. I said it on our show earlier this week. 2018 was a perfect example to tell the fans we had to rebuild for 1 year. That's how good we are. Most teams have to rebuild, and it takes them 5 to 10 years. We did it in 1, and we just got the defending NL MVP for Starlin Castro, right? Starlin freaking Castro. And the Marlins are paying for some of his contract. Who's better than we are? And then you could have topped that off with Garrett Cole, 2 years of Garrett Cole before hitting free agency. And then you could have literally still had the funds to, we're going to go and get Machado just because we feel like it. And we're going to be the Empire again. And guess what? It's a lot of money, but it's going towards stars after star after star. And we're going to win. And we don't care if you like it. That's what George did. But at the same time, all that was built because of a farm system. So I see what Cashman is trying to do, but you can't build a winning system if you're not going to use those players. Like what they did with Peraza is sickening, and it will never leave my mind until he starts every day next year, if he's even on the team. The way they treated him, the way they treated Florial in the past, the way they treated Clint Frazier. I know he wasn't, and Duhar, yeah, but look at the way Clint Frazier is just such a perfect example. He came up, hit. He hit like mad. Oh, he's got the electrics, what do you call legendary bat speed, and he showed it. Sent him down. Came back up. There's that bat speed again. Sent him down. So they did him like that, did him dirty, did it to certain guys this year. Marinaccio was our best relief pitcher, sent him down. So they manipulate service time, manipulate options.
Mark Schmidt was our best reliever, sent him down.
Yep, that's what they do.
But guys, guess what? We experimented with Shane Green.
For one game, we experimented with him. We had Ryan Weber come up and down the roster.
Was okay.
Yeah, but they got rid of him.
What about Abreu? They traded away, got him back, and then Brian Cashman was so proud of himself for that he just rode Abreu all the way through, and it cost Schmidt and it cost Marinaccio places in the major league roster, all because of his ego. This has nothing to do with putting the best team on the field. It's all about Brian Cashman's ego. I want to touch on. Yeah, he's a disgrace. I want to touch on Martino's spin. No one is more jealous of the Yankees dynasty than this current Yankees, and that includes Brian Cashman, includes Aaron Boone, and it includes Hal Steinbrenner, and it includes all those sources who Martino was talking to outside of the Yankees. They are incredibly jealous of the Yankees' success, but certainly this current regime is jealous of the 90s Yankees, and I think they're trying to erase it because they are blaming it on them for the fact that the Yankees have these expectations. Yankee fans have these expectations. Exactly. Blame it on the fans, right? If you make it out like the Yankee fans have this unrealistic expectation, right, and just making it to October is a wonderful achievement, then they will continue to do this on an annual basis so they don't have to make any moves at all. That's what they really want to peddle, right? They have distanced themselves. Do you see them ever congratulate Joe Torre? No. Do you see them have any relationship with Joe Girardi, who won them a championship in 2009? No.
They hate Joe Girardi.
Exactly. I mean, it was only now that Derek Jeter is at the stadium, right? It's been years since we've actually seen too many of the dynasty guys. A-Rod's not under any circumstances invited to the Yankees. Anyone that is involved in winning for the past for the Yankees are pretty much being sidelined because I really do truly believe that this current regime are just trying to isolate themselves, that they are always right, and just making the playoffs is a wonderful achievement, and that the fans are always wrong and they're mean and they're nasty. It's all spin. It is all spin. I guarantee you, the current people in this clubhouse, the Josh Donaldsons, the Aaron Hicks, and all that stuff are incredibly jealous of the things that happened in the past because they don't have the same mentality.
Yeah, and people are so desperate. Like earlier in the year, they were so desperate to call him the '98 team. I'm like, Anthony Rizzo's not Tino Martinez.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, remember those comparisons?
Listen, yeah, no, that's gaslighting. That's not being a fan. That's called gaslighting. And listen, look, I was born in 2003. I didn't watch the '98 team, but I know enough to say, look, stop with these comparisons. If anything, the Yankees should make their own precedent. No, listen, we're not the '98 team. Like, just in once again, I don't mean to bring football into this. But Dable and Mike Kafka were like, we're not the Chiefs, we're the Bills offense, we're the Giants offense. And I want to say this as well. I really just forgot one of the points I was going to bring up, but I'm going to go with the other point, is that I know Donald went live yesterday for Chronicles. By the way, go subscribe to Pinstripe Chronicles in the description along with Nerding Out Sports. He went live for Chronicles, and I said that I was, still not happy with Michael Kay, what he said. And everybody knows he came out and, he had this foam pas of words.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Alex. You could go ahead.
Yeah. And then a day later, he walked it back. He talked
everybody waxed poetic about what Michael Kay said. He was ranting on, Yankees are using analytics because Matt Carpenter was good in batting practice. He was ranting on the fact that the Yankees used 04 as their determination, as their motivation, all these different things. But then the next day he says, Hal is an awesome owner. And he said it wasn't Cashman's fault. It's the player's fault. He was repeating the Yankees narrative. And I'm sorry, that's company man material. They know that what they're doing over there. Just not a lot of people. Again, we talk about this all the time. Me, Alex, and Donald, Rob, too. Nobody reads between the lines.
No. And the beat media, as we've continued to say, rather than ask the tough questions. And I said this before, when that shift thing happened in Game 3 with Jose Ramirez, when that happened, I was waiting for a question about, hey, listen, why'd you shift on Jose Ramirez when he hit one to the left side and Donaldson, fielded, he beat him out for a single? Why didn't you shift? Why did you shift? I was waiting for a question on that. They did not want to ask that question. And then when people they weren't poo-pooing, they were tutuing what Michael Kay said. I said, okay, listen, he's saying some of the right stuff, but here's the problem. A, he's not saying who should be fired. B, he's not calling out his beat buddies to ask the right questions because Michael Kay only did it, once a week with Aaron Boone? These guys in the beat media meet daily and they don't ask the tough questions. They ask him, look, Aaron Boone, we know the offseason, is here and you guys had a good season and whatnot. Are you going to Hershey Park or are you going to Disney World? That's what they're probably asking him. It's the God's honest truth.
In fairness to Michael Kay, he never, ever calls for anyone's job. He's always been like that throughout his podcast, and it pisses off Don LaGreca because Don LaGreca is more of a fan than Michael Kay is, and Don LaGreca is usually kind of more vocal about who he thinks should lose his job or whatever like that. Michael Kay always says, it's never my place to call for people's jobs. He also has a relationship with the New York Yankees. You know that. But if you want his true opinions, he said it post-game, man. He said it very clearly who he's really pissed off at. Of course, he had to walk it back. No wonder. Brian Cashman probably got on the phone with him and probably threatened him. So he probably had to just go and walk it back a little bit. But his true thoughts were very clear in the yes post-game. And I have to give him a little bit of credit because there were so few people in the media that said anything. So the fact that's why we're so excited to hear someone actually vocalize all the things that we were upset about. And it obviously hit home because then the Yankees obviously had to go spin crazy. And then Michael Kay had to get involved and walk it back. And then Martino's now got this article destroying Yankee fans because the truth is Yankees are reading this. They're very much aware of everything that's going on in social media, and they're very much aware that their reputation is being destroyed. So they need to find a scapegoat. And the scapegoat now is the Yankee fans. Unbelievable, but it is.
So Rob, you've been silent for a while. I want to hear your thoughts on this. And I just want to say before I get to Rob, Michael Kay, like if you called for Cashman or Boone's job about a month or two ago, he would have yelled at you, despite him going after Cashman and all that. But that's besides the point. Michael Kay's never for the fans. I'll be honest. I'm not giving him 1 ounce of credit. Rob, your turn.
Michael Kay is a company guy, and he's employed by the New York Yankees. He's known he's the voice of the Yankees. And the fact that he actually had Boone say he was unbelievable for criticizing the Carpenter move, and then he said what he said, and then the very next day he circled back on it. So it makes you wonder who approached him. Like he got that text, like, "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" I don't like Michael Kay necessarily. I'm sick of listening to him. I will never ever watch the K-Rod broadcast because I can't listen to him every single day. But someone has to criticize the team at some point. Someone has to ask those tough questions. But the fact that he said it and then circled back was kind of annoying. But if the voice of the Yankees were to speak out more, then maybe they'd actually listen. So I'm kind of upset that he said what he said and then backtracked. He should stick to his guns. Maybe show a little, balls and be like, what are they going to do? Fire him? They're not going to get rid of Michael Kay. I can guarantee you that he's not going anywhere.
So kind of want to hit on a comparison. Maybe then we'll finish up or any other points. So if I'm being honest, and this is a thing I've we were talking about in my news chat, Donald has a similar vision to Pete that, okay, at least Michael Kay is getting the message out there. Here's where I say, okay, I'm not really going to give Michael Kay credit. Is okay. First of all, I have a personal issue with him that I don't think he's for the fans. I think he has a huge ego. That's one, but that's all aside, the whole process of the point. Goddamn, thoughts are just skipping my mind away. But okay, so let's go back on this now because I finally remembered. It's kind of like an Aaron Boone situation, if you will, right? Let's just say Michael Kay retires a few years from now and then comes out and says, okay, well, let's just say the Yankees were kind of withholding my opinion and I couldn't really say whatever. And it just frustrates me a little bit when you compare it to Boone as well, because it's like, and I know this is very hard for just saying than doing, cut the strings. Because if the Yankees were to actually make a ballsy move like cutting Michael Kay for actually speaking out on the organization, ESPN would say, you know what? Fuck Carl Ravitch. You are our Sunday night broadcaster. Fox would already be in the bidding session. And the Yankees would be fucking scratching their heads. So that's one thing. And I know Aaron Boone, obviously you could apply some same stuff as well. But that's just my point. And once again, it's better said than done. But that's why I don't give Michael Kay a ton of credit. And once again, yes, I could see that he's kind of sensing, throwing out the vision of, okay, we got to start ripping on the Yankees a little bit more. They need to be criticized, whatever. But also as well is the same, and I don't mean to be egotistical here, but your guys' podcast and the Pinstripe Chronicles, our podcasts on here and NYY News TV have been saying things that are more towards the truth without covering it up for the longest time. So, and then here's the thing as well that I'll throw in there. Let's just say next season the Yankees get off to a hot start or whatever, but there's flaws. It's not like this season, but they still get off to a hot start. If you dare criticize some of the Yankees, I think Michael Kay will attack you. Meanwhile, you have our 3 different YouTube channels that will say, look, there are these flaws with the Yankees. They haven't hit them yet. It's going to go down eventually, but they need to do this in order to just make it not as bad as last year. That's my whole issue with the whole Michael Kay thing.
It's not Michael Kay's place to be calling for people's jobs, especially if he's employed by the Yankees. He cannot say it, especially if he wants to keep his job. But the truth is, he adores the Yankees, man. He was born outside Yankee Stadium. He lived there for years. His dream was to be a Yankee announcer. He doesn't want to lose his job to be an ESPN guy. If he really did, he would have tried to have done it before. He does care about the Yankees. I know he's not one for the fans or whatever, because it is a business, it is, and whatever, but it is not his job to be calling for Cashman or Aaron Boone's head. It just isn't. It's at least he said stuff. Like Jack Curry and Michael Kay were very, very good on the Yes post game. They said things without taking that next step, going, well, this guy should be fired, this should be, but they made it very, very clear whose fault it is. So I think we're getting distracted in this podcast. We're going down the Michael Kay route. It's a rabbit hole that you're never going to get out of. It's just you're never going to accomplish anything. The truth is, we need to get more focus back on Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone, I think, rather than Michael Kay. He's just you're just never going to accomplish anything.
I agree. And I'm going to actually build on that, like you're saying. You can give all the criticism to Michael Kay if you want, but as someone who knows the industry and the way that media industry works, let me just say that some of these guys, like we forget, Michael Kay works for Yes and for ESPN. When you're under that contract as an on-air personality, you can't say anything that can be considered bad against the organization. That can result in fines, hidden penalties, things like that, and possible termination if it's really defamating. Like basically, if Michael Kay turns around and says, yeah, Brian Cashman needs to go, he's an egghead, something like that, which, he bears resemblance. But if you say something like that, that can get you in serious trouble with the Yankees because you work as a broadcaster for the Yankees. Mm-hmm. And because of that, you could be suspended, you could be terminated if it consistently happens. It's a rule. So he can't outright say these things. Now let's say he does retire. If he does retire on the Yes Network and ESPN, then at that point he can say all the things he wants and say, hey, I couldn't really speak my mind about the Yankees because I was under contract, and under contract I wasn't allowed to say this, this, and that. I had to control myself and not speak my mind. So that's all I have to say on Michael Kay. You can't ask him to be straightforward if he's under contract like that in that situation.
Spawn.
Yeah. No, I listen. I get your guys' point, but before we go down this kind of road, and we'll finish up, or if we have any other points to bring up, all I'm gonna say, just to leave it off, is that is why this kind of debate debacle is why podcasts are growing that are not on networks. All I'm gonna say, that's why content creators are growing. That's why this channel is growing. Thank you for over 730, by the way, Luca.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, people, besides the point, the whole K company boy thing, whatever. Everybody has their inclinations, their contract, the details, and stuff like that. But the thing is, he's never consistent almost on some certain things. Like, can he at least be more critical instead of saying I think he's too little critical at times. Like, I understand Dal made the point, he's never going to call for anybody's job, fine. But, I think, what if Michael Kay goes and says, maybe Aaron Boone maybe Boone's seat should be hotter? Not calling for firing, but, a little more pressure. Can he at least go to that extent? Can he at least do that? And then every Yankee fan thinks he's God out there. Not every Yankee fan, but there's certain people who think he's God out there with all his Yankee takes and stuff. But that's besides the point. We can get back to the Cashman Boone stuff. I have an article on why it was a NJ.com article which said that Steinbrenner needs to make changes. And I'm going to give you a Cal quote right now. We didn't get the job done. It's time to get it done. And anytime we don't win a championship, it's a disappointing year, which was contrary to what Martino said, talking about championships. We had a lot of good ups. We had some downs, and we had injuries like everybody else.
Oh, injuries.
That first statement, by the way, is typical PR. That's typical PR response. He's just saying what everybody would say. I'm going to give a prime example. And this is going to be switching to hockey for just a little touch just on that. Remember when the Lightning got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets after that record-setting year in the wild card round?
Well, I'm not major hockey fans, but please.
Yeah. Okay, well, all right, sorry. Well, a few years ago, that's what happened. They had the best record in hockey, record-breaking, the most points, unbelievable team. Everybody thought they were going to win the championship. In the first round of the playoffs, they lost to the Columbus Blue Jackets in a sweep. The most disappointing ending to a playoff ever for a team that had such high expectations. And it was the same thing that they had said, exactly like that. And I'm not even kidding. The wording is almost identical. So it's a typical PR stunt to basically say, we know you had these expectations. Our objective is always to win a championship, this and that. We were played by this, this, and that. That's typically not said when you make excuses like that. And I'm not saying that, the injuries weren't a problem, because there were injuries. I think if we had a fully healthy bullpen, this could have been a much different series. Because we had a lot of injuries in that bullpen, where if they were fully healthy the entire year, I think the Yankees could have gone a lot farther than they did. But it's disappointing to see them go the typical PR route and then throw blame.
Right. So, Luca, if you want to pull up that article?
All right. So, NJ.com, not anybody I particularly knew. So, this is going to be written by, first of all, let me share the screen because that would be nice. I want everybody to see it. This is written by, I believe, Steve Politi, or Politi, whatever you want to call it. Yankees Steinbrenner should clean house, fired Cashman and Boone. Finally, somebody in the media says it. How many October failures will it take? How many years without that 28th World Championship? How many better teams have to roll through the Bronx en route to their own glory before Hal Steinbrenner does what his father would do, what most owners of resource-rich franchises would do, and finally clean house? Maybe this is a better question. Will anything wake him from his slumber? It's now 3 days after the Yankees' humiliating four-game American League Championship Series sweep by the Houston Astros, and Steinbrenner has yet to say a word publicly about it. Nope, well, he kind of did, but anyways. No outrage statement, no assurances to fans, just dead silence. Then again, no one should be surprised. Steinbrenner is seen as such a passive, hands-off owner that firing Cashman isn't even entertained as a serious possibility. It doesn't matter that the Yankees didn't belong in the same field as the Astros, who had better starting pitching, a more productive lineup, and a far superior bullpen. Obviously, Hal spoke about the futures of Cashman and Boone. We have yet to see if Cashman's officially back. The same team that beat them in the 2017 and 2019 American League Championship Series with, it should be noted, an evolving roster, did it again this fall, and the prevailing wisdom is that Cashman will be back next spring to give the old college try one more time. The manager's on the hot seat, but not apparently the man who hired him and built this roster. Steinbrenner said, as a team, as an organization, we must grow and evolve after last October's failure against the Sox. We need to get better, period. Steinbrenner cannot fall back on empty words again. If he's paying attention, he'll thank Cashman for his quarter century of service and announce an immediate search for a general manager. If the owner is honest with his assessment of the team, he'll fire Aaron Boone too, and let the new GM find a manager more equipped to navigate these tricky October games. Anyways, this is not just one postseason failure. Firing a GM based on an unfulfilling October, given the unpredictable nature of the short series in baseball, would be wholly unfair. But 13 of them? Steinbrenner is often criticized for caring more about the bottom line than anything else. And if that's true, he should do the math and see what he has spent in the vain pursuit of his 28th banner. Never mind, we'll do it for him. $3 billion. That Cashman has built a team that regularly reaches the postseason, is held up as the primary defense for retaining him. But consider the level of incompetence needed to consistently spend $200 million or more and not qualify for the ever-growing MLB tournament. 12 of the 30 teams make the playoffs, and in any given year, roughly 8 to 10 aren't even trying. The goal in the Bronx is not to beat the Red Sox and Rays for the American League East title. Although, to be fair, that's been plenty challenging, too, before feasting on the AL Central Cupcake. The goal is to measure up with the elite teams in baseball, and in beating the Yankees in 9 of their 11 meetings this season, the Astros have branded them as posers. That's on Cashman. No, Boone did not have a great series in the Yankee dugout, and this team could use a new voice in the clubhouse that won't blame an open roof in Houston for the team's hitting woes. But it wasn't the manager's fault that he had to pencil the name Josh Donaldson an automatic out with the $21 million salary on the books next season into the lineup every day. It wasn't his doing that he had to look down the bench and point to Matt Carpenter, a strikeout machine, when he needed a pinch hitter. Cashman deserves credit for those 4 dynasty championships and a 5th in 2009, but those days are in the distant past. Maybe this ALCS would have been different with a healthy DJ LeMahieu and Andrew Benintendi, or if injuries had not wrecked the team's bullpen, sidelining Chad Green, Scott Frost, Michael King, and others. Maybe. But that's a hard sell for Yankee fans. Who could see this disappointing October coming when this team turned an insurmountable AL East lead into a legitimate pennant race with a summer slog that revealed all the flaws? Cashman is the one who gave Aaron Hicks a massive extension, but could not get a deal done with Aaron Judge, the new AL single-season home run king. He is the one who went into the season without a proven closer, the one who thought that Joey Gallo was a terrific idea. He is the one in charge without a single World Series appearance, much less a title to show for the past 13 years. Steinbrenner shoulders plenty of blame for that, and so do the underachieving players, including Judge, who couldn't get it done in the plate in the field in this postseason. Still, how many flops will it take before the Yankees try something different? We got beat by a better team, Boone said. They're clearly setting the mark in this league that we're aspiring to get to. Yankee fans now get to watch the team they hate, the Astros, face the red-hot superstar they once coveted.
I'm watching my Giants, thank you.
Bryce Harper of the Phillies in a stomach-turning World Series. At least for their sake, it isn't the Mets representing the National League. But with Steve Cohen's fat wallet and whatever it takes mentality, this might be coming next. Steinbrenner, meanwhile, has seen what the Yankees are capable of achieving under his team's current leadership. If he's happy with 90-something wins and a few postseason home dates to pad the bottom line, then doubling down on Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone with the empty statements expressing his outrage is exactly what will happen in the coming days. If his 13th straight October failure does not do it, then neither will 14 or 15, nor 2 decades of them. If Steinbrenner cannot see that his team has reached its ceiling after going 50-51 over the final 101 games in another humbling ALCS loss against a far better opponent, then we've got some more bad news for you, Yankee fans. Probably never will.
Well said.
Was a good article. I'm not going to lie.
That was good.
On that note, there's also a really good article by E. O'Connor on the New York Post. Hal Steinbrenner lucky he can't be fired for Yankees' repeated failures. It has long been a crying shame in sports that team owners get to do all the firing and never face termination themselves. Owners love to say accountability starts at the top of an organization, at least until things go south. Last year, Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner publicly ripped his players for lack of performance. The son of the one and only boss, George Steinbrenner, said he was aggravated, frustrated, and angry at the athletes assembled by GM Brian Cashman and guided by manager for doing a lousy imitation of a cohesive and motivated team. So here we go. More than 15 months later, the fan base has still had enough. The same paying customers who booed Steinbrenner at ceremonies honoring Paul O'Neill and Derek Jeter are sick and tired of the Yankees saying they're willingly signed up to be judged in October only to repeatedly fail in October. Those fans and sick are tired of an organization that has spent as much time embracing excuses as it does seeking solutions. They are sick and tired of Hal Steinbrenner's leadership. So that's a pretty good start right there. So the talk this week will be about Boone's status and Cashman's status and whether it's time to bid farewell to both. Boone is a good guy and a decent manager who doesn't inspire any vision of greatness. When a right-minded NFL team can no longer picture its starting quarterback someday lofting the Lombardi trophy in the air, that team immediately begins the search for a new quarterback. Can anyone at this point picture Boone holding high a World Series trophy? Does this manager inspire any kind of faith? After his Game 3 bullpen decisions against the Guardians and Astros, and after he blamed the roof at Minute Maid Park. So that's just one of the articles he goes into Brian Cashman. So there's really good stuff there from Ian O'Connor. Another one he got is Aaron Boone hasn't learned from his Yankee mistakes. In an open draft of current Major League managers held today, Aaron Boone would not even be a top pick. In fact, he'd probably be just the third selected out of the American League East. I would argue the last, but fine. That doesn't mean Boone is a lousy manager. It just means that right now he isn't close to being the difference maker he needs to be to help the Yankees win a championship. That's a big problem, especially if toothless team owner Hal Steinbrenner brings back general manager Brian Cashman. The GM that he handpicked to replace Joe Girardi after Girardi lost Game 7 2017 ALCS. So once again, he goes after Aaron Boone. He goes right after Boone. He also goes into all the mistakes he made in his very first postseason against the Boston Red Sox. October is all that counts, monks, and Boone's approach didn't match up with the truth during his first playoff defeat. A 4-game playoff loss to Boston in the 2008 Division Series. He stayed too long with Game 3 starter Severino and surrendered 6 runs in 3 innings. Replaced him with Lance Lynn, who gave up 3 runs while recording only 1 out, and what would be a 16-1 rout in 2018. The following night, the Red Sox took the series after Boone stayed a little too long with CC Sabathia, who allowed 3 runs in a third of an inning, and the game saw the Yankees score only twice. At that time, these were the expected growing pains of a rookie manager. However, Boone hasn't shown any urgency since then, and he's making all the same mistakes, and he's making all new ones. So that's Ian O'Connor going after Aaron Boone on 2 separate occasions right there, 2 good articles right there. And you got Politi. So you are actually finally getting some beat media that are actually telling the truth. It's very, very welcome.
No, I definitely agree. It's just hopefully
Stop
these
Anthony
guys.
Medina.
Yeah, shouts to the chat. I know we haven't been keeping up too much, but we've been having a lot of discussions on here. I've been glancing at the chat. Hopefully, some of these guys just break into, the media room, like replace people like Lindsay Adler, who's no longer covering the Yankees, replace Brendan Cootie, replace Brian Hoke. It goes a long way. So writing an article, it's definitely an encouraging start because these people are somewhat, quote unquote, certified and verified for their jobs. But you know what? I'm looking at the process and the progress of calling out this front office. Luca, do we have anything else on the agenda?
So let me just say, Politi is a Star Ledger guy in NewJersey.com. I'm going to look at my bookmarks. I'm going to show Derek Jeter's answer when he asked if Aaron Judge should stay with the Yankees. And I think we can end off on that. Just unmute the tab. It's unmuted. And here we go.
You guys know him better than I do, right? I mean, I've gotten to know him a little bit more over the last year, I should say, maybe. But I don't know. I mean, as an athlete, this is what you look forward to, getting an opportunity. You're a free agent. Most athletes don't even reach free agency. And then when you actually reach it, you have choices. You make the choice that you think is best for you and your family. But I'm sure it's probably going to be a difficult one for him, I would assume. But maybe it won't be. I don't know.
People equate him kind of to you in that I can't imagine him in a different uniform. Would you have ever pictured yourself in a different uniform?
I told him I wasn't going anywhere. So, no, of course.
That's my captain.
He's definitely like, I don't take that too much, for grain, but he's definitely what I said. He was humble. Like, did he call out Brian Cashman when he was at the stadium? Did he call out Hal Steinbrenner or any of the top management? No. I mean, he's going to be humble. That's what I'm going to put it as. But you know what? Jeter's presence is needed in the organization, in my opinion, as is A-Rod's. But I don't know if.
What did Jeter say? I was never going anywhere else.
Exactly.
That is a true Yankee. And that mentality is missing now. It really is. Rest in peace to the Yankees that we've known and loved. And certainly myself and Rob has, because Rob is similar age to me, where we've brought up through the Yankees of yesteryear, where they actually valued winning, where they valued the pinstripes, where valued what it meant to wear the pinstripes. Derek Jeter personifies all of that. And rest in peace to the Yankees. I keep saying it because this new era of soft players, they don't know what it means to wear the pinstripes. They don't particularly like it because they don't like getting booed. They like to be in a small market where it doesn't matter if they bat 220. and strike out 400 times in a season, because then they can go home to their cushy life in their multi-million-dollar mansion and go and play again tomorrow, or it doesn't really matter. In New York, we have expectations. Derek Jeter embraced those expectations, and if they didn't meet those expectations, he'd be the first person to say they didn't meet those expectations. We need more people like Derek Jeter, and I don't think there's one person in that whole Yankee roster who has that, apart from maybe Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole.
I'm sorry, I don't see it with Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is, in my eyes, I'm going to be honest, not a leader. Derek Jeter was a leader.
I have to disagree with you on that one. If there's anyone, and I've been saying, and I watched Jeter's entire career, as did Donald. If there's anybody on this roster that is Jeter-like, it's Aaron Judge.
The closest thing, I will agree, but not to me in my eyes. But
all right, so I guess we'll start wrapping up here. Brian, you've been quite silent. You could enter your final thoughts. Then we'll go with Rob, Luca, Donald. So Brian, you're
all right. I'm hoping my mic doesn't cut out when I'm gonna go look up some stuff on my phone. But I did write a piece back in July when the Yankees were in that big slump, when they weren't doing too great. And I was talking about the importance of how big this offseason is going to be for him. I called it Aaron Judge and the Battle of the Checkbook. And if you guys can still hear me, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So in my article, I mentioned about the biggest issue for the Yankees being the payroll. They're locked in to pay $151 million in salaries next season. Most notably, they're locked in to pay Stanton, Cole, Donaldson, and LeMahieu. But what's going to be very tough for them is all the arbitration they have to figure out. Here are some of the players I'm going to name for you guys. Jose Trevino, Kyle Higashioka, Gleyber Torres, IKF, Tim LaCastro, Nestor Cortez, Frankie Montes, Domingo Herman, Clay Holmes, Michael King, Jonathan Loaisiga, Lucas Luque, Wandy Peralta, Lou Trevino.
Is that it?
Anymore?
I think we lost.
Any more for the arbitration?
Oh, that's it.
Okay.
Jeez, Lou.
That's the entire list. And I had to cut out McGill and Duhart because he's no longer on the team. But the point stands, they have a lot of players they have to figure out financially on top of seeing if they can get Judge in. And I might be the only person that says this. And it's going to be a very bold thing I have to say. I'm leaning towards letting Judge go. I'm leaning. And the only reason I'm leaning is because we need the money.
We don't need the money.
We don't need the money.
I feel like there's more you could do there. There's more you could do. And I'm talking about a guy who's going to get ready to turn 31 years old and you're locking him for another 6 years.
You on a roll, Brian. Like you were hitting out of the ballpark.
I know, but I'm just telling you, I don't know. I'm a 50-50 on bringing Judge back because of the finances.
Brian.
We're the
Brian,
richest organization in the world.
Brian, you were on a roll for an hour and 38 minutes. Why do you elect now to get off that roll, Brian?
Okay, fine. I digress. How about that? I digress from that statement. I'm just saying I'm uncertain about Judge. I don't have a decision yet.
Okay.
I don't have a decision. How's that? Is that better? I don't have a decision.
What would your alternative be, though, man?
Who the hell's playing right
Anthony Rizzo just actually went out and said if the Yankees didn't have Aaron Judge this year, they would have finished in last place and would have maybe had about 60 wins. He actually said that, which doesn't say a whole lot about Brian Cashman and the roster.
I got to give you the main reason because I did mention this also in a little chat with some of you guys. I did mention that maybe the one thing, the straw that breaks the camel's back for the Yankees and Cashman would be if they lose Judge. That's also a partial part of it. If you lose Judge, you lose Cashman because he's the moneymaker for the Yankees. Ads, sales, marketing. The reason why you're getting people in those seats is because Aaron Judge is playing in New York. That's all it is. You lose him, you lose money on top of your best player.
You actually can't
And
afford to
maybe
let.
that's what the
truth is.
Yankees need in order to lose Cashman. But are you ready to sacrifice the best player in baseball for that?
He should have been gone already for not locking him up long term when he had the chance.
I agree, but we're past that now at this point, and that's how Hal is. Hal's past it too. So it's just about locking him in now. You don't lock him in now, you're gone. But if you lock him in, he keeps his job.
Well, he's not going to be under contract after the World Series. You can't negotiate where you don't have a job, so they're gonna bring him back, and it's not going to matter if they get Aaron Judge back or not. He's going to be here. He's pretty much the GM until Hal maybe decides to sell the team, which he won't. So I'm pretty much numb to Cashman at this point. He needs to go. I've said it countless times. I understand what you're saying, though, Brian, because the Yankees are so strapped for money, quote, quote, they don't have it to spend, that letting Judge walk would open up so many possibilities for them. I just don't see who they sign in his place. You're going to have Stanton play right field? Is Cabrera going to play right field? Unless they fully embrace a farm system takeover where Volpe comes up on opening day and maybe Austin Wells or something like that, and then Dominguez comes up next year, maybe you can justify it. But the Yankees aren't going to win a lot of games, and you can't tell us that's a World Series ready team because Aaron Judge is a 10-11 WAR win player. You take that away, you're an 85 or 89 win team. You're not making it to the DS without Aaron Judge. You're not making it. I don't even think you're making it to the playoffs without Aaron Judge because their whole team struggled during that terrible August. What did Aaron
Rizzo said
Judge
he'd be a
do?
last place team without Aaron Judge.
I was saying that.
Yes, I do agree with that. And I have to throw this into, when I was reading and making the article, I was realizing some things as well about what are some trade options that you could open up money to make sure you have Judge and do more. And I thought about what if you try to trade Stanton's contract? I thought about if you need to make more room, what if you trade Stanton, who has been having injury issues since the first day he showed up in New York? And as I was looking through it, how about this? He has a no trade clause for the entire duration of his contract. You can't trade him at all, from what I read. Apparently, his contract of $32.5 million or somewhere around that can't be traded at any point until his contract is up. No opt-outs, none of that.
Here's where I might put the cap on this depending on where we want to go with this. I personally don't think it's about money. This isn't a league where it's salary cap.
This isn't the NFL.
I get it. It's Hal Steinbrenner. I get it's Brian Cashman. They want to stay under the luxury. By the way, Jets Smith, I think it's at 195 next year. I think that's the number. But I think we got to let the money aside and see if the organization makes the smart decision or they make the dumb decision. That's where I think it goes.
You guys saw the article. Brian Cashman spent $3 billion of Hal Steinbrenner's money. And what has he done with it over the past couple of years?
Don't worry, we had Vernon Wells, remember? We had Vernon Wells. We had Matt Holliday.
Yeah,
Travis
that really panned out.
Brian Roberts.
What about the guy who played one game for the Yankees and then retired? Anybody remember that? There was a player that signed with the Yankees in free agency and he retired or left the team after one game.
I don't remember that person.
I don't remember that.
I could have swore there was a player. I could have swore there was a whole story around it.
Sounds like the Joe Judge tenure.
Yeah.
Maybe could it be Euclid? Probably not because he went to Japan.
No, Euclid got hurt.
Euclid's got hurt.
I forgot the name, but I could have swore there was a guy who played one day. I think, was it Encarnacion?
No,
he played a whole
game. Carter.
Who am I thinking of that played one game and then he just disappeared?
I don't think it was one game.
It couldn't have been one. Were you thinking about Jay Bruce because he retired mid-season last year?
Jay Bruce, Jacoby Ellsbury.
No, I'm talking a little further back. I'm talking about probably 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Talking 3 years ago.
2019.
Was it Chris
Yankee.
Carter?
No,
No, he was
Carter's
2017. Yeah.
Oh.
It's killing me because I should know this. This guy had I'm pretty sure the guy had an all-star too. And he just left the team. Oh my gosh, this is killing me.
I know who you're talking about, I think. It's either Troy Tulowitzki or Gio Gonzalez.
It was Tulowitzki.
Oh.
It was Tulowitzki. There you go. He
Yeah,
played
Tulowitzki
14 games and then just boom.
It
gone.
was
got hurt.
Tulowitzki. That's right.
He got hurt though. He was hurt. That's why.
Yeah, he was hurt. Gio
And then
Gonzalez.
he never played another game in pinstripes.
Yeah, well, he never played another game in his career, period.
Yeah, he only
Yes.
played 5 games because he was.
Because they got him 10
injured.
years past his prime.
Exactly.
But
to,
again,
Anthony
but how much
Garcia and
money
Joe
did you waste on
Marino.
it? How much money?
That wasn't a lot of money, though. I mean, it was bad. I'm not going to.
It
I'm
was
not
a
gonna
bad
sit here and
decision.
say
But
huge
they also did mention Jacoby Ellsbury was another bad contract spending.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one. JP
Ellsbury, I will argue, was a good signing. It's just the injuries killed him because he was really good when he was on the field for us. People seem to forget that. He's just obviously the injuries. You can't predict injuries are going to happen. He was killing it for us when he first got here. We missed the playoffs that year. Also, the second time that Cashman spent a ton of money in an offseason since 2009. Beltran, Ellsbury, Tanaka, and there's one other, Brian McCann, and they missed the playoffs that year, which was Derek Jeter's last season. So sometimes spending just to spend doesn't always work. It's how you spend it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Another
You have to spend the right stuff and on the right players. If you're going to make a home run play, you got to make sure you're making the right decision that's going to help the team and not just be, a budget call.
Right. You let
Sometimes
Cano
signing.
walk. You let Cano walk, and your replacement for him was 35-year-old Carlos Beltran.
Curtis
Also,
Granderson.
Brian Roberts.
That was his replacement. Yep. Curtis Granderson was, well, he was replaced by Ellsbury, but we all know how that went. Anyway, Rob, final thoughts.
As usual, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be on here talking with you guys. I hope that changes are made with this front office because I'm sick of the nonsense. I don't expect them to, though, so I think we're in for another painful offseason. Hopefully we have something to cheer about when Aaron Judge gets re-signed. And, yeah, it's Giants football for me because the Yankees are in a rut and the Brooklyn Nets are annoying already. So
Steve Nash was ejected tonight.
yes, Mr. I'm coach. Yeah, whatever. 2 superstars and you can't win. Get whatever. I'm not going to go on a spiel.
And
Why would
Giannis
I?
had 43.
Shut the f-
Oh, here we go with the Bucks. Anyway, Donald.
Right. I want to list all the clusterfuck that Aaron Boone caused this October to close my final segment. How about started with a DS roster? Claimed that Peraza would only be a second pinch runner in the DS. That's why they never called him up. Absolutely egregious. Your very best shortstop on the roster, he called as just their backup pinch runner. It's an embarrassment. He should be ashamed of himself. The musical chairs at shortstop. The daily just throw shit at the wall at shortstop. The gaslit the fans telling us that IKF should be a gold glove shortstop. IKF should be a gold glove candidate, yet he didn't have him play in any of the elimination games. That is purely, quite obviously means that he doesn't believe his own bullshit. Excuse me. Crazy bullpen moves. Obviously the one in the DS where he cost Severino the win when he had Wandy pitch 3 innings, and then he said that Holmes wouldn't be used only in an emergency. What does he decline? What does he think is an emergency? It's the fucking playoffs. It's not the regular season, you fucking idiot. Then, of course, if you're still buying that bullshit, then why was Loaizaga limited? Why was he limited there if he knew that he had a compromised bullpen? So there's just another one right there. That we're only just touching the surface of the DS fuck up that Aaron Boone caused. IKF has a big role to play over the next few weeks. And he said that during an elimination game. The fucking idiot. The Boone, you're unbelievable to Michael Cave for just asking if Matt Carpenter's ready. How about the wind killed us? even though they bat 162 and struck out 160 million times. Oh, it was the wind. Yeah, you fucking idiot. The CS was a complete clusterfuck. To cool out and the bases loaded after all he did to get you there, he put the team on his back. He got you through the DS himself. And how did Aaron Boone repay their best fucking pitcher? Oh, we don't trust you. We're going to put in our fourth choice reliever, our fourth best reliever to get out of a bases loaded situation. That is a complete disrespect on Garrett Cole. If I was Garrett Cole, I would never speak to him again. It's actually insulting. That is insulting. You're our ace, but I don't trust you to get out of that situation. Absolutely insulting. Terrible, terrible man management, right? He got called out by Severino. He got called out by Holmes already this postseason. He got called out by Garrett Cole because he said, I was more than I wanted to get through that inning, but I was taken out for some reason. So we just got to that point. And then, of course, didn't tell Bader he was leading off. And then he blamed the player for the fact that Bader didn't know. That was a good one. Lauren Shahad of TBS knew more about Bader's status in the lineup than Harrison frickin' Bader. That is an embarrassment because Aaron Boone, who's only hired for his communication skills, didn't communicate. If I was the Yankee manager, if you and Rob were the Yankee manager, what would you do if you just made a change to leadoff hitter? You'd go speak to that guy.
Hey, Bader, you're leading off.
I would say to Harrison Bader, I go, man, I need you at the top of the order. I need you at the top of the order to spark this lineup. Are you ready? That is a manager.
Hey, Bader.
Aaron Boone is not a fucking manager. What are you saying, Alex?
Oh, I'm making an impression of Aaron Boone. Hey, Bader, you gotta come in.
Beatty, you're leading off today, Beatty.
Bader, you're leading off.
Exactly, but he doesn't fucking do that. He obviously just put a little note and then he posted it to him because he's a little fucking wuss, right? So that was unbelievable. Didn't tell Bader he was leading off. I've never fucking said that. Bader was like, am I? All right, it's news to me. In the fucking playoffs. Jesus Christ. What about, according to Jump Boy Media, they take decisions by vote? That's a good one. I just found that one out. Oh, that's a really good one. Who should we play shortstop today? Should it be IKF? Well, 5 say yeah, 4 says no. Looks like it's IKF today. How is this an organization? That is fucking unbelievable.
I think Donald's right when he says they're a political party.
It is. It's spin. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. There's no cohesion. Aaron Boone's not a manager. He's just the go-between. He's
a buffer.
Just the paper boy. He just comes out and he just talks whatever people are telling him to say. Unbelievable. They take a vote. I can't even get my head around this organization, this roster construction. It's a fucking joke. The 3 different shortstops I've already mentioned, the 3 different cleanup hitters, the 3 different 5, 6, 7, and 8 hitters. I mean, that is not – there's no consistency. And also, how does that breed any confidence in your own players if you don't have any fucking faith in them? Because you're changing them on a daily basis. How does that breed any confidence from the locker room? Oh, that guy's got my back. No, he doesn't. He's just taking me out of the roster. I don't know what's going on from one day to the next. That's fucking Aaron Boone. And then it all comes down to the very final disrespect, and I've taken this as a personal insult, the 2004. That was unbelievable. Now, this is all in a week and a half, what I've just fucking mentioned right here. And that only touches the surface of some of the shit that he's done. Not even mentioned the shift. I've not mentioned the fact that A-Rod ripped him for the fact that he had Aaron Judge lead off, and then he changed it 24 hours later because he doesn't stand by his own decisions. He doesn't actually know what he's doing. But let's get back to that 2004 thing. Rob can attest to this. We had to live through that. We had to deal with that. Yeah, Lady Red Sox, it was fucking brutal for us. But we took it on the chin and we just had to deal with it, right? I watched it, man. Mariano Rivera blew those saves in the ninth inning. We could have had it. We had multiple opportunities in the ninth inning, 3 games in a row, and Rivera didn't close it out. I'm not blaming Mariano Rivera, but that's how it happened. That's what happened. We were so close. And then it all came down to game 7, and then it was Kevin Brown, and then it was Vasquez, and then Kevin Brown broke his hand, and it was all this craziness that was going on. It was a terrible situation, and the Yankees blew it. But the thing was, I remember watching that game 7, even though we had a terrible score against us, I still believed there was a chance that the Yankees could come back. Why? Because that roster had a heart, had heart. They had winners. They believed, and there was always a chance that we could come back, right? But credit to the Red Sox, they did their thing, right? I'm not taking anything away from them. But that Yankee roster in 2004 had winners. This fuckfest that we have in 2022 are weak, zero mentality about them. As soon as they go behind, they give up. They were done. They're finished, right? There was no comparison between 2004 and 2022. But here's Aaron Boone. He used it as some sort of motivational tactic, where he used that video and he was parading it around, parading our worst, darkest failure in 100 years. He's parading it around as some sort of motivation. That is an embarrassment. That is an embarrassment. And I'll tell you what, as I say, we all have reasons why we all adore the Yankees and stuff like that, but I'll tell you what, the Yankees' current management, the current excuses that they just threw out there to insult their fan base upsets that love that I have of that organization, and it's dwindling on a daily basis. I'll be quite honest. I have not been invested in the Yankees other than through my work as a podcaster and stuff since 2017, because Aaron Boone was a power grab by Brian Cashman. He wanted to take control of the whole organization, and he wanted to be the king of the organization, and he's now just hired a puppet to do his bidding. And ever since then, the Yankees have fallen apart. And why should I buy into that shit anymore? I'm done. I'm absolutely done. If they don't give a fuck, why should I give a fuck? I will always care because I love the Yankees and I'll always do this. But let's be honest, this right here, which I just ran through, is there's no question why Mariano Rivera was spot on. Mariano Rivera just said, if I was the owner of the New York Yankees, Aaron Boone would not come back. And Mariano Rivera is spot on. So there you go right there. That whole 2004 thing was a farce. He's FaceTiming David Ortiz. You've given me a fucking break. Unbelievable. So the Yankees are a complete failure. And I'm embarrassed of them right now.
What a rant. Luca.
I have no confidence. I'm going to keep it brief. I have no confidence this organization's going to make change going forward. Incompetent GM, incompetent manager, owner who's kind of blindsided. But again, I'm not blaming him for money's sakes. I'm blaming him for just looking a blind eye and see how bad of an embarrassment this organization is. I don't expect things to change. That's pretty much that. I have nothing else. And also, screw you, Andy Martino. Good job, Ian O'Connor and Steve Politi, for writing those articles. Those were spot on.
Well, almost 2 hours on this stream. We'll probably hit it with my my final statement in the outro. But I would like to thank Brian, Rob, the three of us, Sean, people in the chat, even the trolls like you know who, for coming on and supporting us through the chat. I know I haven't read many comments. Obviously, we're going through a whole discussion, going through many articles and stuff like that. We reached over 700 a few days ago. I know I haven't been popping with the content. But tomorrow for the Dead Red Podcast, me and Sox Arizona will be calling the Ravens-Bucks game. There's our once-a-month calling a game on Thursday Night Football, and then lots of stuff from there. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, especially for the ones in the bio, those accounts in the bio. Peace out, everybody. See you later. Stay cool. Have a good night.